Okay, so um, we're going to dive into this New York Times article today. And, well, honestly, it's kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
It's about an attack in New Orleans
Right.
using explosives. And, what really caught my eye was that it happened at an Airbnb rental.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the thing that's, I don't know, unsettling is that the attacker used a transmitter to set the explosives off.
Yeah, I mean, that's what really jumps out at you right away from the headline. You see New Orleans attack. Okay, but then it's like, FBI says attacker had transmitters. Like,
Yeah,
that's a whole other level.
right. And the article,
It's from January 3rd, by the way, of 2025.
oh, right. Yeah, so this is
Very recent.
very recent. Yeah, so,
This is not like something that happened a while ago.
this is like just
We're talking days ago.
days ago. Yeah. And so the article talks about how these transmitters that were used are not like your everyday,
Right. Right.
garage door opener or something.
Yeah, they operate on very specific frequencies.
Right.
And it seems like you need at least some technical knowledge
Yeah.
to even get a hold of one of these things, and then even more to use it.
Yeah. And that just points to like a level of, planning,
Premeditation.
premeditation. Yeah.
Like, this wasn't just some spur of the moment,
No.
crime of passion.
Right. It seems like this
That was
was,
thought out.
yeah, very calculated,
Yeah,
which is, I don't know, even more unsettling to me.
absolutely.
Like I can wrap my head around someone, setting off a bomb or something. But the idea of someone being, miles away
Yeah,
and triggering an explosion.
remotely.
Yeah, that's just
Chillin'.
super chilling.
Yeah, it's a whole other level of scary.
It is, and it makes you think about like, you know, how easy is it to even get this kind of technology?
Right. Is this something that just anyone can get their hands on, or does
Uh,
this person have to have like special, knowledge or connections,
Yeah.
or, be part of some,
Yeah.
network or something to even know how to do this?
Right. Right. And, and then think about the location in Airbnb. I mean, these rentals, they're so popular
Yeah, they're everywhere, right?
everywhere.
I mean, I've stayed at plenty of them.
Right. And they're seen as like a safe,
Safe, convenient.
convenient alternative to a hotel.
Right.
But this really kind of shatters that perception of security, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to an Airbnb and you think, okay, I've got my own space. It's like a home away from home.
Right.
And now you're thinking, is someone gonna, detonate explosives remotely?
Right. If the door's secure enough,
Yeah.
are there enough cameras around or?
Right. Or, is there gonna be security patrolling the streets now because of this?
Yeah, it's a whole other level.
And I mean, the article does say that Airbnb is cooperating with the investigation, but
Right.
I mean, it's got to have some kind of impact on them and the entire industry.
Right. What's it going to do to tourism? People might be less likely to stay at an Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to see increased security measures at these
Wow.
properties?
Right. Are they going to start like screening guests more carefully?
Maybe. Yeah. What about like background checks?
Yeah. Or are people going to feel safe, going to an Airbnb?
Yeah. Peace of mind.
Right. Right. And the article, I mean, it kind of goes into detail about like the technical aspects of the attack.
Yeah, they talk a lot about how the device worked.
Right. But it doesn't really tell us anything about the attacker.
Yeah. And that's the big question, isn't it?
Right. Like who did this and why?
Yeah, like what was the motive?
Right. It's like a puzzle
Yeah.
with a huge piece missing.
The FBI is being pretty tight-lipped.
Right. They haven't really said anything about, leads or suspects.
No, and the article even mentions some other cases where explosives were detonated remotely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they were all different. Some were like personal disputes,
Oh, wow.
and then some had possible links to, extremist groups.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like,
So it could be anything.
it could be anything. We don't know.
Wow. So, I mean, thinking about, your interest in security and technology,
Yeah.
how do you see this attack potentially impacting the balance between safety and privacy?
That's a great question. And the article touches on, surveillance technology a bit.
Right.
And I mean, it makes you wonder if this is going to accelerate that trend.
Right. Are we going to have more cameras everywhere?
Potentially.
Is law enforcement going to be able to access our data more easily?
Yeah, I mean, the article talks about how law enforcement relies so much on digital footprints and data analysis now.
Uh-huh.
So you can imagine them wanting even more access to personal information in the name of security.
Right. But then where does that leave, individual privacy?
Exactly. And will we see, people pushing for stricter regulations on these remote detonation devices?
Yeah. Like, are they going to be harder to obtain?
potentially.
You know, I mean, this whole thing could spark like a national conversation about this,
Absolutely.
about all of this.
About security and privacy,
Right.
how we balance those things. Right.
Because, I mean, we want to be safe, but we also want to be free.
Right.
So how do we find that balance?
Right. So much to think about with this one. So to sum up, we have an attack in New Orleans
Right.
using a sophisticated method of detonation, an Airbnb as the location.
Very unsettling location.
Very unsettling location, and no idea who did it or why.
Right. A lot of unanswered questions.
A lot of disturbing questions, yeah.
And I think the biggest takeaway is how this might change things going forward.
Right.
I mean, how is this going to impact security measures, not just for rental properties, but for public spaces in general?
Right. Are we going to see a shift toward more, invasive security protocols?
Potentially, yeah.
Are we all going to be scanned and searched every time we go somewhere?
I mean, that's a possibility, right?
It's kind of scary to think about.
It is. It's definitely something to consider as technology keeps advancing and, these security threats keep evolving.
Right. And I think it underscores the importance of, staying informed.
And really thinking critically about the information that we consume.
Yeah. Question everything.
Right, right. Well, hey, thanks for diving deep with us today.
This was a good one.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
A lot to unpack.
For sure.
They're very important.
Very important, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, until next time.
See ya.